Welcome back to another AMC Financial Astrology video. DD on AMC that you absolutely cannot get anywhere else. I'm your host, Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune, here to help you navigate through the illusions of life. And I'm in a good mood, guys, because why? We just had an eclipse on Saturday. How do you guys feel? I know I'm feeling the new moon energy. I purposely waited on this video to drop to see what type of news we got over the weekend. How do you guys feel on a personal level? Are you guys feeling the energy? If so, or if you guys are curious of how this affects your personal life, do not forget to check out the Eclipse video update I did on just how it affects us personally, and it's a huge deal. But nonetheless, in this video we are going to be going over what this eclipse means for our favorite stock, AMC, and we just had a Pluto retrograde a day before the eclipse, so we're going to go over what typically happens during a Pluto retrograde in the stock market. This is not DD you want to miss. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you get all the content. This is only the beginning for this channel. Happy to have you here, and go ahead and hit the like button if you want to show me some love. I greatly appreciate that. And check us out at the Market Moon Lord Discord. Your presentation will begin after this intro. Welcome to the Market Moon Lord, where we merge the matrix with the stars. I'm your host, Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune, here to help you navigate through the illusions of life. Okay, so we just had an eclipse this Saturday in the sign of Taurus where the moon is exalted, and we have another eclipse coming on May 16th. We are officially in eclipse season. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, fully or partially blocks the sun. Now, why does this matter? Well, you can check out my How to Trade with the Moon Phases video to understand why the moon does affect the stock market. So, last time we had this cycle of eclipses, the May 26th eclipse, that's when AMC went from 14 to 70. I mentioned earlier I wanted to wait for the weekend to be over before I put this video out because the eclipse happened on Saturday. This weekend's news will give us a really good idea what this eclipse season is gonna be about. Let's check that out now.
A lot of people already calling out, and I read a lot of articles saying that, margin calls are coming, margin calls are coming. We heard that, we talk about that. We haven't seen any of it, but this time feels different.
Today I want to talk about how there will be massive margin calls coming on Monday as a result of new margin haircuts being implemented and becoming effective Monday morning.
There could potentially be a lot of haircuts that are coming into the market, meaning that there could be a lot of collateralized assets that are being margin called or that are just being cut. But this does not, to me, mean short squeeze Monday.
That's right. It's worth $0. Correct. You got it, boss.
This is big news. As of April 29th, 2022, the DTC is showing us that beginning May 2nd, which is Monday, anything for a settlement date of last year.
Footnote number 2 on this document says the DTC may reduce its risk by assigning higher haircuts where applicable to equity securities designated as highly volatile based on their historical price volatility. Where else are we seeing mentions of reducing risk?
All these, that's a lot of fucking haircuts. Are you seeing, is everybody that's watching right now understanding the level of manipulation and heavy-handedness that is happening right now via the SEC, the DTCC, the NSCC, the Fed, the White House, and all of these other government entities and regulatory bodies in order to finish this, to get this market to where it needs to be? And that they know that it's significantly overvalued. They know that it needs to crash, and they know that the shorts have to cover and close out their positions.
Eclipse season started this weekend, and as you can see, we're already getting big news. This is just the beginning. This is a Taurus eclipse, meaning it's on the node. Opposite of this eclipse is the south node, which will be in the sign of Scorpio. Since this is a solar eclipse, new moon in Taurus, opposite of that is Scorpio, which we're about to have a full moon there, which is also eclipse on May 16th. As you can see on the book above, eclipse in these signs of Taurus and Scorpio are considered big financial chapters in the stock market. On the same page for Taurus and Scorpio eclipse, it talks about how financial institutions may have to close their doors forever, that things that appear to be solid may be anything but we'll talk more about that in future videos. There's so much we can go over when we talk about astrology. But one thing I want to mention was the fact that Pluto went retrograde a day before eclipse. Pluto is the last planet of zodiac, the slowest moving planet in our solar system. When it's making a move, you pay attention. So much so, even Yahoo Finance is making an article about Pluto retrograde. The first thing they say about Pluto is it's the planet of transformation and destruction, and I can't disagree. It's about how it's in the sign of Capricorn and it's been there since 2008. And Capricorn deals with structure, things being stable, business, karma. Pluto is not playing in the sign of Capricorn, and if you look back at that screen that I had on before with that book, it talked about how since Pluto entered the sign of Capricorn in 2008, that's when all that shady stuff started arising. Now Pluto is at the end of Capricorn, and all that shady stuff that's also been happening since Pluto rules, things hidden, working behind the scenes, working indirectly, all that karma is going to come to a climax when Pluto goes forward again and crosses that 29th degree of Capricorn and goes into the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is the sign of the people. But that's in the future, but not really that far away, and something we all should be paying attention to. But I also want to talk to you guys about this current Pluto retrograde that literally just started the day before the eclipse on Friday. Okay, so if you're original Moon Lord, you know how crazy I can get with these charts sometimes when I go in on my financial astrology DD. You can't get anywhere else. I spent a lot of time on this chart, so go ahead and hit that like button to show me some love. The purple backgrounds are the ones that are Pluto retrogrades, okay? Those little purple boxes. Now the ones with the yellow border is when Pluto goes out of retrograde, but then it has to leave where it previously was, which is called the shadow period, which is also telling me something. I'm seeing some trends in this. Now all these little orange lines here that are vertical are the eclipse, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I'm noticing, first of all, the SPY always goes up. But I'm noticing a lot of trends actually on these Pluto retrogrades. Now, first of all, a bunch of times around the end and the beginning of the retrogrades, there's a move. And then around the, and then inside the shadow period, there's typically a drop before it continues that move up. And if you guys can look at this chart, and pause the video and tell me if you guys are noticing any of these similar trends. Now, another thing I'm noticing, if you look at these little white dots here, those white dots are just showing where the liftoff was from the launch pad, you could say, from the Pluto retrogrades. Now, the ones that lift off where the purple is kind of hitting the other purple, meaning it didn't really go that high from the previous Pluto retrograde, like this one right here, I noticed that they get really big jumps afterwards, okay? So you saw that big jump, and then here it is again. It had a big fall afterwards, and look where it fell after the shadow period. A little bit after a shadow period, it had a big fall, okay? And then it kind of recovered from that fall right before it went back into Pluto retrograde, and then look at that big jump. I had the launch pad from kind of close to the same level as the other one. Okay, now look at where we are now. Okay, and so this would be the typical time frame. Now another thing is the purple is always lower than the yellow. It happened all the way back from 2014. There's only been one time it hasn't happened. So this is the lineup for it now. I'm still deciphering through this, guys, but I'm looking at a lot of statistics because we're getting a lot of big astrology aspects, which can definitely help us navigate through this a lot better. But we know Pluto deals with power. We know Pluto deals with resources. We also know Pluto is right on top of AMC's Venus. We also know Pluto's at the last degree of Capricorn and went retrograde right before that completion. Okay, so what do you think when it goes past that degree and into the sign of Aquarius? Okay, this is all really big stuff that's happening. The retrograde's big. When it goes direct, it's going to be big. When it goes back to the 29th degree and past that into Aquarius, that's going to be big. And that's going to be hitting AMC's first house, 0 degrees on top of that. Like I said, this is just the beginning. Okay, so let's go over some of these eclipses. We're looking at the vertical orange lines. Those are the eclipse, the new moon's full moon eclipse cycle. So what I'm noticing a lot of the times is if it's not like a big hard move before the eclipse, a lot of times we're not getting a big move on the eclipse, okay? But right now we're obviously we just had a big move before the eclipse, so this does put us in the good candidate spot for a big eclipse move, which we just had one on Saturday, so it wasn't a trading day. However, we're still in the new moon energy. The catalyst still could be coming, and then also we're coming into a Scorpio full moon on May 16th, okay? But yeah, you can see that some of the eclipses where they weren't big moves beforehand, they don't really do much. If it was like consolidation or a small trend, no big deal, okay? But if we look at some of the full moons or new moon eclipse that had a big move beforehand, like this one right here, you saw it was falling hard. It had a small bounce, but into that eclipse right here, it started to really pick up steam and started heading up, okay? Here we had a huge sharp move, and this right here, this is interesting because it's right after the shadow period of a Pluto retrograde, and we saw a lot of that time we will get little drops at the end of those, okay? So 1 week after that, it did get that drop, and that drop happened on the eclipse, okay? And it was a big move. You can see here on this full moon or this new moon, you saw that big drop, and then it started reversing coming into that full moon. It kind of found a bottom, and then on the new moon it kind of consolidated in between there, and then on the full moon eclipse it had a big move. So it was really bouncing off the moons there for a minute, and then the eclipse it really bounced out of it. Here at the beginning of a Pluto direct after shadow period, and then on the eclipse it had a big move down, and then on the full moon it had a big move up. Okay, I think we could be getting something like that. Nice continuation into this eclipse, but then it ended on that eclipse full moon. Hard moves down leading into the eclipse. It continued down, and then a couple days later it got a big bounce, and then after the full moon eclipse it ran hard. I think we could be getting something like that. Okay, so I do think we are a good candidate on this buy for an eclipse move tomorrow. But the move would pretty much be either we hold this 408, or we're gonna see under 400. I know that sounds pretty wild, but that's where we're at based on the moon phases. Okay, if you guys been here a minute, you know what we're looking at. But eclipse typically would be a reversal, okay? And we just entered the Pluto retrograde, which also will show a trend reverse. So I would like to see us bounce right here, can start going up, okay? And then the eclipse, which is going to be May 16th. If we're anywhere near this 460, which we could be, we're gonna hit 478. Facts. Okay, if we're above 460, we're for sure going to hit 478. That would be the bullish scenario, but the bearish scenario is we don't hold this moon phase support at 408, and then we hit under 400. Okay, but let's check out AMC's moon phases. Okay, so you guys know what we're looking at. The main thing I want to point out is that I did draw a new line, first line we've drawn in a minute. Okay, if you made it this far in the video, you're for sure a moon lord, and you know what we're looking at right now. We're looking at the AMC moon phases. Now, the first thing I want to point out is I did add a new line. You see this orange line. It's because we made a higher low on the waning period. So that was actually a really good sign, a sign of strength. Now, does it say we're going to get a reversal? Not necessarily, but it does leave me hopeful. Okay, typically I want to see some more obvious trends for a reversal, but it's not there. But it does seem like we did potentially reach a bottom, just on the fact that the moon phase of the waning period, which is typically more of a downside period, is officially over, and we completed it higher than we were previously. Okay, so yes, it does look like based on that we could potentially start heading up. I'm not going to be anywhere near excited until we break the $17 mark. If we can get there before the May 16th full moon, the pop most likely will take us to around the $30 range. Okay, now if we continue to fall, 13 is still possible. I said that in the last video. Okay, if we get past the $14 drop, then it looks like the next level is going to be the middle $10 range. Okay, but I am thinking that this does look like we could potentially start either consolidating right here and then kind of heading into the full moon, maybe following this trail line. And if we can get around that $17 mark coming into that full moon on May 16th, I will be very, very excited to be back in the $30 range for AMC, if not being squeeze energy. Okay, so you guys let me know how you feel about this video format. If you guys enjoyed this DD, drop that like. If you guys are new here, haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Check us out at the Market Moonlord Discord. A lot of great people in there. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching these videos. I'm very excited to diamond hand this with you guys and go to Pluto with you guys. We just have to continue to hold like we've been doing. The storm is almost over and there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to trust the grind, trust the process. Scared money don't make money, and patience pays. All right, so I'm Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune, here to help you navigate through the illusions of life. You're watching the Market Moonlord, where we merge the matrix with the stars. Until next time, peace.
Jason Alexander, the Blue Moon of Neptune.